20 of the best Nintendo Switch ports. Let's go for it. Number 1, Skyward Sword HD. So Skyward Sword HD is one of the best ports because it is a remaster of one of the Legend of Zelda classics. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword took the controls of Legend of Zelda and turned them into motion controls. And while the controls on the Nintendo Wii were slightly rocky, they improved the controls for the Nintendo Switch version, and I believe this version is better than the Nintendo Wii version. The game is also great as it's the first game in the Zelda timeline as well. If you're interested in Zelda lore, then Skyward Sword is a great place to start, as you'll learn about the whole canon of Zelda. So yeah, it's great. It's good because the controls are improved on the Switch version, in my opinion. While they're not perfect, it's still a great port. It's in HD and it looks awesome. Pikmin 1 and 2 are good games because they are strategy games that basically are a bit cute, they're a bit comedic, they're light-hearted, easy to play, but they are also a challenge at the same time. They can be a bit stressful, they have a great mechanic to them where it's like a night and day cycle. This is a game that you can play using pointer controls if you have the Nintendo Switch version. And yeah, they're great games in general, they're just very fun strategy games. You build your Pikmin army and you take on the challenge of fighting the many monsters that you come across. It's a great game. I really enjoy Pikmin. Go check out Pikmin if you've never played a Pikmin game. Mario Kart 8, in my opinion, is the best Mario Kart game there is. This is the biggest and best Mario Kart there is. The HD graphics are amazing. The gameplay is smooth and plays really well. If you have the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack as well, you can get even more tracks on this game as well. There's so many tracks to explore and play with. And yeah, it's a fun time. It's easily my favourite Mario Kart game there is. It's a great multiplayer game, so if you have friends that you want to play with, it's easy to pick up and play. Definitely pick up Mario Kart 8. Great time. Everyone knows what Mario Kart is. Just go play it. Okami. Okami, if you've played a Zelda game, you will enjoy Okami. Okami is a watercolor adventure game. Okami is amazing. Like, if you've played Zelda, you'll fit right into Okami. It has that semi-open world, explorable world kind of gameplay to it. You go through dungeons and there's bosses to fight. If you like Zelda, you will like Okami. It actually came out at the same time as Twilight Princess and they ported it to Switch a couple years ago. And yeah, I played through it during lockdown and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you haven't played Okami yet, it's a great port. It's a great game to play. Very fun. There's lots of different challenges and lots of different mechanics in that game. Yeah, it's a great story as well. Okami is definitely a recommended game from me. Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim. Skyrim, what do I need to say about Skyrim? Everyone knows what Skyrim is. You can get Skyrim on Nintendo Switch, and yeah, this is a different kind of version, I suppose, because it's on the handheld platform. While it may not be the most optimized version of the game, it does come with extra content in it, such as the Master Sword and the Hylian Shield. So yeah, I mean, it's Skyrim. Everyone knows what Skyrim is. Go play it if you haven't. If you like open world quest games where you can play as it's an RPG, you play as the Dragonborn and you know, you build your character over time. You can play the game however you see fit. You can be good, you can be bad. It's open world questing. It's basically Breath of the Wild in first person. You know, it's Skyrim. Everyone knows what Skyrim is. It's an Elder Scrolls game. If you've not played Skyrim yet, where have you been? It's on Switch. So yeah, I recommend playing it. The Resident Evil series. There's a lot of different ports of the Resident Evil series. My particular favourite is Resident Evil 4. You can play all of the Resident Evil games pretty much on Nintendo Switch, apart from maybe the newer ones. It's more the older ones, the classics that are on Switch. So yeah, Resident Evil is a great series in general. It's a great horror series. If you've never played a Resident Evil game, I do really recommend you get on them because they are iconic. You know, the characters, Jill Valentine, Leon Kennedy, Wesker, all the characters that are in Resident Evil, they are iconic. And the story itself is just an iconic story. It's Resident Evil, again. I don't really have to explain it. It's a horror game. It's an action horror game. It's a puzzle horror game. There's so many different elements to the Resident Evil series. Yeah, I really do recommend you go search for them on your Nintendo Switch if you haven't already got the ports of them and play them. Yeah, enjoy them. Dark Souls Remastered. So Dark Souls is a Souls game, and if you haven't played a Souls game yet, I'll have to explain. It's basically a game that is brutal. It's a series of games that basically revolves around the idea of when you defeat an enemy, you gain souls. This is like your currency in the game, but you have to keep that currency throughout the game. You have to, if you die, you lose it all, and you have to go and basically retrieve your souls. It's a series that is very difficult, but I enjoy Dark Souls for that because it's an open world adventure game. Dark Souls is more semi-open world. It's more linear. You can technically go open world in that game, but it's more of a linear. You go to this part of the world, fight this boss. You go to the next part of the world, fight this boss. If you like Zelda, you'll like Dark Souls. It's almost like an adult version of Zelda, I guess, in a way. Yeah, Dark Souls is a classic. It's an absolute timeless classic now. And yeah, I really do recommend it. If you've ever played a game like Elden Ring or Dark Souls 3 or Sekiro or Bloodborne on the PS4, then you know you'll enjoy Dark Souls. I don't really have to recommend it because I'm pretty sure you already know what Dark Souls is. It's a great port. It actually works really well on Switch. It's more like the PS3 version than the remastered on the PS4 or the Xbox One. I would say it's more the PS3 version, but it plays fine. It feels nice still. And yeah, it looks good. I love Dark Souls, so I'm sure I can recommend it to you and you may enjoy it. BioShock. So you can get all 3 BioShock games on Nintendo Switch. So the collection, so you got BioShock 1, BioShock 2 and BioShock Infinite. I forgot the name of it then. The BioShock is a great series. If you've never played the first one, which is the one that I highly recommend, it's a kind of like a horror adventure series. It's you go into this world called Rapture, which is an underwater city that's been destroyed. It's like Fallout underwater in a way, I guess. Yeah, it's BioShock. It's scary, it's funny, it's intriguing. There's a lot to the game that makes it feel atmospheric. There's a twist at the very end of the first game. I won't spoil that twist, but it's one of the greatest twists in any video game ever. And then I also highly recommend BioShock 2 and also Infinite as well. BioShock Infinite is the complete opposite. It takes place in the sky. BioShock 2 is the sequel to BioShock 1. It plays a little bit differently to the first game. It's a little bit left field, I suppose. It's slightly different to the first game. Final Fantasy, you can basically get the classic collection on Nintendo Switch. You've got the Pixel collection, and then you've got 7, 8 and 9, which are some of the best games of all time in my opinion. There's Final Fantasy X Part 1 and 2 on there. You know, there's awesome Final Fantasy games available on Nintendo Switch. If you've never played a Final Fantasy game, I would recommend either 7, 8 or 9. They are, in my opinion, the best Final Fantasy games. I grew up with those games, so I am probably being a little bit biased here. But yeah, they are the top games in the Final Fantasy series. I really do recommend getting them, checking them out. Really do. Go check them out if you haven't. They are JRPGs, so the turn-based combat. They're semi-open world in a way. You explore the different cities and you explore the different worlds and you see the dungeons and the different areas. The game is random encounter, but I never find random encounters annoying in Final Fantasy. It's kind of part of the game. It's part and parcel of the game. The Witcher 3. So yeah, this game actually does run on Nintendo Switch. It's the worst version of the game. Graphically, it's a little bit lacking. However, it still plays fine. I actually played through The Witcher 3 for the first time on my Nintendo Switch, and you know what? The graphics didn't bother me. It's fine. Yeah, it's a good port. It plays well. It's Witcher. If you've never played The Witcher, it's an open world RPG game. It's fun. Yeah, it's more like an adult Breath of the Wild, I suppose. It's good. I actually really like The Witcher 3. The quests are great. It's got some of the greatest quests in a game ever, in my opinion. The DLC, which comes with the port as well, is some of the best DLC ever in a game. The Blood and Wine DLC is just incredible. The Witcher 3 is that iconic. It's one of the greatest games ever made, and it's available on Nintendo Switch. If you've not played it yet, I do recommend maybe picking it up on Switch, but it's one of the best ports, definitely. It's kind of seen as like a miracle port. The Persona series. Now, the Persona series, in my opinion, is one of the greatest JRPG series ever. It's a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series. It's probably more popular and iconic than the Shin Megami Tensei series now. Persona 5, in my opinion, is one of the greatest games ever made. It's available on Nintendo Switch in the form of Persona 5 Royal. And there's also Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 Portable available on Nintendo Switch. It might be harder to find those physical as they were limited run games. Persona 5 Royal, however, is widely available, and I don't have it in my collection, but I do want to pick it up. However, like I say, Persona 5, when I played through it on the PS4, it's easily one of the best RPGs I've ever played. It's that good. The story, amazing. Persona 4's story, also amazing. Persona 3 story, also amazing. It's just one of those game series that every single time they release a new game, it gets better and better and better. I definitely recommend it if you want to get into Persona series. Persona 5 Royal is a great place to start. That's basically where I started, so yeah, there you go. NieR Automata, and yes, this game does run on Nintendo Switch, and it runs very well. I've played through this game for the first time on Nintendo Switch. I did actually start playing it on the PS4, but I just couldn't get into it the first time around. The first time I played through the whole game was on Nintendo Switch, and I'm so glad I did, because playing it handheld, in my opinion, was just a different kind of experience, and I really enjoyed NieR Automata. It's an open world action game, and it takes place in this post-apocalyptic world where all machines have completely taken over, and everyone who was human is now dead or is either an android. And it takes place in this fantasy world that's a little bit mind-blowing, and I'll be honest with you, sometimes when you're playing through the story you may be a bit confused, but that's kind of the whole point of the game, is it's supposed to be a bit of a mind-blower. And yeah, it's amazing. It's easily one of the best stories in a game I've ever played, and visually, even on the Switch, it looks amazing and plays amazing. The music, second to none, some of the best in a game ever. Yeah, I really recommend NieR Automata. The characters like 2B and 9S, great characters, really do recommend it. Xenoblade Chronicles. So Xenoblade Chronicles is a series that, while I'm not massively familiar with, I know that a lot of people who are Nintendo fans really do love Xenoblade. So Xenoblade, the whole series is basically on there. I'm talking about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which is the first game in the series, which was originally a Nintendo Wii game. So I'm yet to play this game, so I can't really say much about it, but I know for a fact it's a great game. Everyone who plays it says it's amazing. I can't really say much about it, except for I know some of the characters like Shulk and the backslash and stuff like that, and I know all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it looks like an amazing open world fantasy game. It's Nintendo exclusive as well, so it's published by Nintendo. So if you want to get into a new IP that's kind of owned by Nintendo and is made by Nintendo, that's become more popular over the last few years, Xenoblade Definitive Edition is a great place to start, because it is the first game in the series, and there's quite a few games available. And then that also leads you into the Xenosaga as well. So once you played the Xenoblade series, you can always go over to the Xenosaga as well, which is a completely different series in itself. Super Mario 3D All-Stars. So Super Mario 3D All-Stars is a collection of the greatest 3D Mario games in my opinion. Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. 3 of the greatest Mario games in my opinion. Mario is known for being the greatest platform series ever. Mario is the top of the platform genre. 3D All-Stars is a great game because it gives you those 3 ports of 3 classic Mario games. Highly recommended. Like I say, they are 3 of the greatest Nintendo games ever in my opinion. In fact, Mario 64, it was revolutionary as it was the first 3D platforming game ever made, and Nintendo made it, and it was just incredible at the time. The levels are intriguing, they're great levels to play through. The controls today still feel amazing for a game. Yeah, it's 3D Mario. What do you want me to say? It's self-explanatory. The Borderlands series, so you can actually get the Borderlands Legacy Collection, which comes with Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, and the pre-sequel, which is 3 games available on Nintendo Switch as ports. And yeah, they're great. Borderlands is a great series. It's basically the counterpart to Fallout, I suppose, in a way. It's Fallout in space with a Mad Max feel to it. Yeah, it's great. It's a looter shooter, so the idea of the game is the more you kill, the more loot you find. The further you get into the game, the better loot you find. The more loot you have, the more you win, basically. That is kind of the whole point of the game. It's good. It's a great series. I really enjoy it. It's funny, it's comedic, it has heart to it. The characters are all interesting, especially the villain, Handsome Jack, who is the kind of centerpiece of the series now, I suppose. He's the main villain, I guess, the Bowser to Mario. So yeah, Borderlands is just an interesting game to play. If you want a great first-person shooting game that's also highly playable multiplayer as well, yeah, Borderlands. It's Borderlands. It's there. Don't miss Borderlands, especially with all the Fallout hype at the moment with the TV series. Borderlands is kind of like the best thing we have and the closest thing we have to a Fallout game on Nintendo Switch. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker spawned from the Captain Toad levels in Super Mario 3D World. In my opinion, some of the best levels in Super Mario 3D World. And Captain Toad Treasure Tracker was originally a Wii U game, so it was ported to Nintendo Switch. Great puzzle game, absolutely. I love this game. It's so fun. If you just want to sit and chill for a bit and just have a game that's a bit of a puzzle mind boggle game, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, while it's not the hardest game in the world, it's fun. It's an easy breeze game that just lets you chill out and enjoy a game, I suppose. Captain Toad is a fun character. He's a very underrated Mario character in my opinion. And I feel like Captain Toad deserves a spot in Super Smash Bros. It's a puzzle game. It's one of the best puzzle games on Nintendo Switch. And that also leads me into Super Mario 3D World, which is also a port of a Wii U game. This, in my opinion, is one of the best Mario games on Nintendo Switch. While it's not my favorite, as that goes to Super Mario Wonder, I do really love this port of 3D Worlds, and I think it works really well. It's even better on Switch. It's faster, it runs smoother, it looks nicer. Yeah, it plays really well. It's a 4-player experience as well, so you can play with Mario, Luigi, Toad, or Peach. There's 4 players. It's great. It's 3D Mario, but has that kind of 2D Mario feel to it. Oh yeah, it's good. If you just want a game to play that's fun to play with other people, Super Mario 3D World is a game that you should definitely pick up. Don't need to explain much more about it, as I'm pretty sure you already know what it is. Bayonetta 1 and 2. So Bayonetta is kind of a new series to Nintendo. While the first game wasn't a Nintendo exclusive, as it was on PS3, it was eventually ported to Nintendo Switch. And with Bayonetta now being a Nintendo property and it's published under Nintendo, I really do recommend playing the Bayonetta series. Bayonetta 1 and 2 are just... why are they so good? It's so good. It's a hack and slash action series. Just that good of a series. I really love the Bayonetta games, 1, 2, and 3. And I actually think you're getting a bit of a bargain with the ports of these games because they play so well on Nintendo Switch. Bayonetta 2 especially feels and looks like one of the best games graphically on the Nintendo Switch. I really recommend Bayonetta, just the series itself. Great games, action hack and slash games. Great series, great characters, great story. Gameplay wise, it's fast paced. There's linear levels, so it's just a breeze through. The bosses you fight are all really fun to fight as well. It's crazy chaotic fun. And yeah, go play it, Bayonetta. The Batman Arkham series games are now on Nintendo Switch, and I really do recommend them. In my opinion, they are the best superhero games ever made. Sorry, Spider-Man 1 and 2. Yeah, Batman Arkham Trilogy is just incredible. This port comes with Batman Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. While Arkham Knight is my least favorite and runs the worst on Nintendo Switch, it's still an amazing game. However, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, in my opinion, are the 2 best superhero games ever made. Really do love those games. The story, the characters, the villains. I'm not going to say that thing of it makes you feel like Batman because that is just so generic and everybody says it, but I really do feel like it's just the best superhero game series ever made. So really do recommend Batman Arkham series. Incredible games. If you just want an amazing comic book story, Batman plays on every string of every comic book fan and every Batman fan there is. If you know your Batman lore, you will love this game, as there's so many references and moments in the game that hints to the comics and the movies. There's costumes you can collect and Easter eggs and stuff like that. So it's just an amazing series for that kind of stuff. I feel like the series kind of borrows from like that kind of Nintendo formula as well a little bit. Like The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is a massive influence on the Batman Arkham series in my opinion. I feel like there's these kind of dungeon areas that you have to explore and you get these like weapons that help you get through these dungeons and stuff like that. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong there. And finally, number 20 is Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. Yes, this game did have a rocky start when it was first released. However, the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy is something that should not be missed. Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. 3 of the greatest action, vehicle driving, open world games there is. Yeah, it's a crime game, absolutely, and I would not recommend this game to any child ever, even though I played the games when I was like 10 years old, so I can't really say much there, I suppose, but I wouldn't recommend these games to children. However, I will just say that they are experiences like no other. There's been so many games that have tried to copy the formula of Grand Theft Auto, for example, True Crime, Sleeping Dogs. There's even a Lego game called Lego City Undercover, which has got that Grand Theft Auto formula to it. So, yeah, I mean, they're so iconic, the Grand Theft Auto games. Some of the best-selling games of all time, some of the most famous games of all time, and they are available to play on Nintendo Switch. Really highly recommended if you haven't played them already. Great games, great stories, great characters. Just, they're funny as well, and yeah, they're good. They're very good games. I highly recommend. Right, that is the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. This was my last video right here. That was 10 games that I still need to collect for my Nintendo Switch collection. As you can see, I am building a Nintendo Switch collection behind me over this year. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have liked it, please do like, comment, subscribe. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!